I went through a really nasty divorce in 2015. That's putting it lightly. And I started dating my current wife in 2017. And of course, as we got serious, I started to have fears. Well, what if we fall in love and get married and it blows up like the last one did?
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It Rewind series that we're doing. This is our last of the Rewind episodes.
Wow. Can't believe we made it here.
I know. And so these 4 clips that are not the only amazing clips we could have picked, but they are the ones we chose for you this year.
But they are the coolest.
And that's what this is. This is the cool advice episode. Honestly, what happened is, okay, I was going through our entire catalog. I did this. I went through the entire catalog and I basically was just like, oh, this person go here, this person go here. And we had 2 that didn't have like titles yet. And so it's kind of like, oh, I really like these 2. Oh, these 2 are kind of like this, right? So that's where the bold moments came from.
Yeah.
So this cool advice was just like, I just fucking like these people. And how did we not already choose them yet? I don't know. So I know we already have like a potpourri category, but we have another one. And this one's called cool. So
this one is less generic than that, but still generic.
Don't even, but the people are anything but generic.
It doesn't make the advice bad. It's just categorizing them. It's awesome.
Okay. Well,
we're on it.
You know what? This is like Cool Ranch. Okay.
It's Cool Ranch. It goes on anything.
It goes on anything.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about how to meet people. We're going to talk about outgrowing fear. We're going to talk about boundaries, which, by the way, this episode is dropping the day after Christmas, and you're probably feeling like you have some boundaries you need to set up or re-establish, or I don't know, you probably thought about that yesterday. So that clip is definitely going to help you. That whole episode's epic. And we're going to talk about redefining strength. Actually, we're just going to say it. We're going to talk about Giovino McLean because he's fucking cool.
Giovino's so cool.
He's so cool. I mean, my goodness, I watched it when I first asked him to be on the podcast. He had like 45,000 followers. Now he's like almost 700,000.
Yeah.
Like slaying and just inspiring the fuck out of people. So let's get into the cool episodes.
I'm all about it. Here we go.
All right, let's kick things off with Dr. Kelly Bender, episode 41, about finding the people in the room who are not like you. Y'all, if you need friends in your life, you need a network, you need anything like this clip is going to give you a powerful tip.
Yeah. And Kelly also talked about how to meet people. And she is a doctor, obviously. And she decided to start going to meetups where they were not doctors in the room. And that was on purpose. And I thought that was really kind of clever, even though it might not seem that intuitive. It was great.
Well, because here's the deal. Like, and I know we have a lot of Pilates people listening to this, so I want to make sure you do not take offense to this. But I love a Pilates conference. I really do. But I also have a lot more fun meeting people who have nothing to do with my industry, because I actually pick up on ideas that are unique and different, or
well, how you can support other people.
Well, also it's how I can grow my own business, because I actually like what we've created wasn't just for Pilates people, it's for people who love Pilates. And so this advice is really important to like kind of help you cast your net a little further out.
Yeah. Love it. All right, here we go.
So one of the big things that I tell people, the be it till you see it kind of a thing, is putting things in your physical environment that make you feel happy or that make you feel that desired state. So one of the things is I've got my plants, I've got my crystals, I've got all of the things that kind of just make me feel like I'm that person. And one of the biggest things that changed, I had some money mindset stuff. Being a doctor, being a care provider, I just like giving care for free, right? Like I just wish I could give care for free. It makes me feel so good. But that's not a sustainable business model. So what I did when I wanted to change how I felt about money was I took $200 bills and I have this little kind of seashell type thing that I put them in with my amethyst from when I was little on top of it. And it's right over here where I do my work. And I just have it there. And it's like, money's around, money's available. If I need $100, I could grab it from there, right? I don't, because I'm just putting it there. But physically putting the things in your space to remind you of what you want to grow and what you want to focus on, I think is really important.
Oh, I love this.
And yeah. And then absolutely, like, adding people to your environment, to your friend group. Find the people who are not like you. That's what I would say. A lot of times we tend to be friends with the people that are very similar to us because they reinforce our beliefs and it makes us feel good about ourselves. But I would encourage you to find people who are very different from you, because they're going to have life experiences and they're going to have skill sets that are complementary to yours that you might need or you might benefit from. I started working with very, 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 very high net worth individuals and completely changed how I saw life, how I saw my own, like how I run my household, just seeing how people run their households, how they run staff, helped me understand what was possible. It's so interesting. So I specifically went to meetups that were not medical related. So most of the people I knew who were doctors, they went to all these medical ones to network with other medical professionals. And I was like, first of all, I want friends who are not doctors. Second of all, I like you're not going to become my patients. You're doctors. And third, I actually went to a lot of them that were like business oriented, because I was like, I need friends or people who are in business to help me learn how to do this. And so, I would psych myself up, and this is not a thing that I love to do. So I really, there was a lot of anxiety before everyone, but I was like, what's the worst that can happen? That's what I would tell myself. What's the worst that can happen? You're going to go, you're going to meet some interesting people. And if you don't like them, you never have to see them again. So that's the nice thing about meetups, is everybody is there to network. So it's different than going to a bar or something like that. Everyone knows that's the deal. So you go up and you tell your story and you hand out business cards.
All right. That was episode 41 and with Dr. Kelly Bender. We love her. And she had another episode with us, by the way. Go just search for her name on the Beit Pod. You find it. Brad's going to come up with it at some point, but don't worry, put it in the show notes too. Now we're moving on to episode 141. I promise you that wasn't on purpose. We're going to talk about outgrowing fear. So this episode with Chris Goodman could be seen as a business episode, but actually I just really think is applicable to everybody, because fear keeps us from being it till we see it tenfold, 100%, hands down. Any other metaphor, cliche thing you'd say there, like fear is what stops people. And one of the things I love that he said that we're going to get into is how a decision rooted in fear will create results rooted in. And that stings, because we know it. Like, it's so true. When you do something out of fear and then the thing comes and it's also just crap, because it was like, it's like you planted the seed in fear, so it grew a fear plant.
Yeah. And he kind of continued that metaphor and basically said he had to outgrow the fear that he was in.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very inspiring episode. Here we go.
It's such a great point, because people tend to discount how much a decision rooted in fear will create results rooted in fear, right? And you see, I imagine many of your Pilates instructors are going through this right now, that they've been so conservative in their pricing, even though they're bringing tremendous value, that they keep making decisions like backing away from the fear. And so they keep getting people who want to pay bottom dollar prices, right? And so they get clients who are not maybe necessarily respectful of their time or do the exercises they tell them to do, or whatever. Yeah. I've worked with lots of physical therapists, and this seems to be a trend that when we are in fear and we make a decision like, well, I can't raise rates because then I'll lose clients, they're definitely not doing anything to attract the people who want to pay for instance, premium, a luxury price for a luxury service. Yeah. And so they don't get those people. Those people go somewhere else. And it's sort of a race to the bottom.
So is it possible to outlearn a fear?
I think so. I genuinely believe it is. I'll pick on myself for an example here. I went through a really nasty divorce in 2015. That's putting it lightly. And I started dating my current wife in 2017. And of course, as we got serious, I started to have fears. Well, what if we fall in love and get married and blows up like the last one did, right? I had to outlearn that fear. I had to outgrow. I think outgrow is probably a better term.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I could do that was by facing it head on. So when the time came to let Lindsay, my wife, know how serious I was and how committed to this relationship was, I told her, I said, I think this is really going somewhere. And she said, well, that's tough because I'm not sure it is. And I have a lot of fears and I have a lot of doubt right now. I didn't even think, I just blurted it out. I said, well, that really sucks because I'm in love with you. And talk about running into your fear headlong. I mean, tell somebody that just told you they're not sure about the relationship that you love them and put your heart out there to get stomped on. And she looked like I threw paint all over her. She was just like, what? And like, I'm growing antlers. What? And this look washed over her face and her eyes welled up with tears. And she said, I'm in love with you too. I'm just terribly afraid right now. I'm so afraid. And so we use this as an example all the time when we do podcasts because we're both afraid. She had bad relationships, failed relationships, 2 relationships that went 4 years each. It's not like we have somehow strapped on this armor as coaches that allows us to walk through anything with no fear. Not the case. It is that we accept it as sort of a mission to run headlong into it and all the discomfort that comes with it and outgrow it anyway.
All right. So that was 141. If you want to dive more into the fear topic, I hope you do. And now we're going to go to 153. So we're not going.
We're going backwards in time.
We're going backwards in time, but not. We're going forwards. So like a week later, we had Tanya Dalton on.
141, 123.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks. Tanya Dalton is a credible author, and she has several books out. One of them was the JOMO, which is like the joy of missing out. But this episode was about boundaries. And she is a mom. She's a busy woman. And we talked about the importance of boundaries. And she gave an incredible example, a visual example about how important boundaries are. And if you struggle with enforcing boundaries, I want to tell you the resentment you're feeling is because of that. Because we're the only people who can build our own boundaries and we have to enforce them, which can make us feel like we're being rude or demanding or whatever. But you have to understand that boundaries are very helpful. In fact, they're so helpful that Tanya explains all of that in this episode.
Yeah, this is a great one. Tune in.
I think it's so poignant and helpful for people to understand why we need boundaries. If you were to imagine a school that's next to a busy road, there's no fence. The teachers are going to let the kids go out for recess, but they're going to say, like, stay close, right? Because we don't want them running out to the road. So the kids have to play close to the school and where the teachers can keep an eye on them. But if there is a school next to a busy road and they put up a fence, same school, put up a fence around it, the kids can go to all the corners of the field. They can go play kickball over here and play hide and go seek over there, and they can take advantage of the full field. And that's what boundaries do. It allows us to have this container that we can explore and we can play and we can really enjoy ourselves fully because we have that container, because we have that boundary. And then we can go inside and do the next thing, right? And that's what I love about boundaries is when we have them in place, when we have good, healthy boundaries, it feels so good. It really does.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed episode 153 with Tanya Dalton talking about boundaries. So the next person is the epitome of cool.
Yeah.
I must say, Mr. Javino McLean, episode 205. Wow. What an empowering, inspirational, incredible human he is.
We talk about him all the time.
You want to cry tears of joy?
Yeah.
Watch his Instagram. It will bring you to tears every single time. It's just so fun to see how he empowers other people.
Also, like, we obviously can't put his entire episode here because you're going to go listen to his entire episode.
Yeah, go back and listen to 205.
You got to go listen to it because he really talks about how we can hold people back, how we can look at people who are different than us and think, oh, they can't do things. And he is actually redefining what is possible. And I think he's an inspiration for all of us. Sometimes we're like, I can't do this because of this. Oh, I can't do this because of this. I can't do this because of this. And like, there's no because of this for him. He's like, oh, here we go. Let's move this thing one more notch up and see what you can do. And my goodness.
I just think it's incredible that he takes the time and the money and the effort to literally create a space and buy all this equipment. And then he spends the time to empower people who need the support. And I think it is just so powerful.
They need the support, and also they need someone to believe in the possibilities
For them. Yeah.
Because
And he provides that.
I'm a Pilates instructor, and so people come to me and say, my doctor says I can't flex or extend my spine. And they're like, I can't do any of those things. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do this. And the way I look at bodies is like, okay, well, what can you do? And the way that Javino is going to inspire all of us is like really focusing on like, let's redefine what you think your weakness is and see what strengths are possible. And I don't know, get ready to feel chills up and down. I already have chills. I just have chills thinking about it. So here's Javino McLean.
Enjoy.
One thing with me, Les, is always about normality and redefining boundaries. I've always been that person. And I think normality is the most powerful thing on this planet. And I realized a long time ago, no matter who you are, no matter what your condition, elderly, disabled, whatever it is, all anybody wants is to be treated normal. And me now, I'm a father of 2 young boys, and God forbid if anything was to happen to my little boys, all I want is the world to treat my babies normal. Don't feel sorry for them and don't pity them. Treat them normal. And years ago, Les, long story short, I used to manage sessions. We call it the council. In the USA, you call it the government, baby. So I used to work for the government, and I used to do sessions all around the city of Manchester. And I had people that worked for me. And I was watching a session with this young guy, one of my members of staff, and he was teaching this young boy in a wheelchair. This young boy was so bored. He was so bored. He was 19. And I watched the session, and he stayed in his wheelchair, Les. And then when the trainer went to go to the bathroom, this boy got up out of his chair and he walked over to where the water and the drinks was, and he poured himself a drink. So I came in the room and I went crazy at him. I said to him, don't you ever let another man or another person dilute your power. Don't ever let nobody tell you that you're meant to be in that chair. Like that chair defines you. I said, I've just watched you for 20 minutes lift the 2-pound weights, big strapping rugby player boy. And he was lifting weights that he knows he can do more. He could get up out of his chair. He could walk like a lot of disabled people or a lot of people in wheelchairs. They're not always in the wheelchairs forever. A lot of them can actually get up and move. And I said to him, don't ever let nobody dilute your power and tell you that you have to stay in that wheelchair. So when the trainer came back in, I said, you know what, you go home. I said, I'm going to take the rest of this session. And for the rest of the session, I made him stand up because I knew that he could. And even if he couldn't, I said, I've got you. I said, you're going to push yourself. You're 19 years old. And I said, you got all this life to live. You can't live and attack life by just being locked in your little box and letting the world and people tell you, you stay in your wheelchair, you do. I said, no. So I made him stand up for 20 minutes and he did it. I made him lift the bigger dumbbells. Nothing crazy, but a little bit heavier than what I know he could do. And at the end of the session, and this is what changed for me, Les. So this is where it was a little bit awkward, where this little boy's parents was in the room and his dad was massive. His dad was huge. His dad was so big. And he walked over and I thought, I don't know what's going to happen here, Les. I don't know because I didn't know. And he came over and he just started crying. And me and him hugged for about 20 minutes in him and his wife. And we cried. And he was explaining to me everything that I was saying to him, people are scared to say to him because of his wheelchair. And he said, they tell him every day that you're lazy, you can do more. But because his mummy and daddy doesn't want to listen. And he said, I was the first person to ever talk to him and treat him normal. Because the world, when it comes to people that are disabled or elderly or vulnerable, they've got a thing where they don't want to offend and they don't want to tell him anything. So they said to me, I was the first person to treat him normal, and they loved it. They loved it. And I said to myself on that day, because you're in a wheelchair or disabled, you ain't no different from me or you or anybody else.
Was that epic or was it epic?
I mean, this guy, I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet him in person.
Like I'm just going to go listen to this episode now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. So this is the last of our Rewind series. Again, we want to know if you like the Rewind series, if you want this to be an annual tradition. Of course, we'll pick different episodes. If you have topics that you would like us to do a Rewind episode on, we want to know.
Yeah, or if there was an episode that you thought was super powerful and really impacted you
that we didn't mention.
Didn't cover, tell us that. And we'll go back, and they are definitely going to be those as well. So
we're not going anywhere. We are in the top 1.5%. And I have a huge goal for this coming year, and it requires your help.
It does. So share this episode.
Share this episode. Here's my goal. I'm going to share it with you. I want to hasten. Is that the right word? I want to quicken. I want hasten the time to go from 1.5% to 1%. And not because I'm insatiable. When we go from 1.5% to 1%, it means even more, like thousands of people, our lives are being changed because of this podcast. We can't do that alone.
Well, not only that, it also allows us to put this pod in front of even more amazing guests.
But also, get more guests, more amazing guests on. Someone's like, you should get Michelle Obama on. And I'm like, we will. Somebody explain to you how Michelle Obama says yes. Probably money, but also 0.5%. I'm not asking to get me to 0.5% next year, although you can. That's an Abraham Hicks thing. I'm not asking for it right now, although it can be. But the more you share this episode, the more you listen to our podcast, the more reviews we get.
Yeah.
We go from 1.5% to 1%. We don't skip ahead. And then we'll go to 1% and then to 0.5%. We're here to this podcast until we reach as many people as when people start saying, I'm being so you see it everywhere, and like its own cliche, its own thing that people just say all the time, then we will go, okay, hold on. Now that everyone's being so you see it, what do we got to do? But this mission is here to help change people's lives. And it's not because we want to change people's lives. We actually want you to. If you are being it till you see it, if you have all the answers and the help and the support to be it till you see it, then you change people's lives. And even if you don't have to be your own business person to change people's lives. You can change people's lives by being a parent and a spouse and a friend and a sister and a coworker and a neighbor. So
and you can change your own life by being it till you see it.
Well, that's actually probably change your life first, because then you can take people with you. I'm Lesley Logan.
And I'm Brad Crowell.
And you know what to do. Be it till you see it.
Bye for now.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at BeItPod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the epic team at Diseño.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.